Hello, friends. This is David. I thought before I read Psalms 39 that I would give you some information on it. Maybe it will help you reflect and think about what it's saying before it's actually read. And I just got this information off of the internet. It's a Psalm 39 commentary. So it basically says that Psalm 39 is a prayer of wisdom from David. It's reflecting on the brevity of human life and the pain of God's discipline. The psalm details David's internal struggle between his intent to stay silent before the wicked and his anguish over his circumstances. And there are some key themes and structures that you find in Psalm 39. First of all, verses 1 through 3 speaks of David's silent struggle. The psalm opens with David's resolve to remain silent and guard his tongue, especially in the presence of wicked people. He does this to prevent his emotions from causing him to speak unwisely or sinfully. However, holding in his distress only causes his heart to burn with sorrow and anguish until he finally speaks. The next theme, the brevity and vanity of life, in Psalm 39, 4 through 6. After his period of silence, David turns his thoughts and words to God. He prays for perspective, asking God to remind him how short his life is and how frail he is. A handbreadth. David describes his days as only a handbreadth, a small unit of measure, emphasizing the extreme shortness of life. He speaks of a mere breath. He concludes that every human, even at their best, is just a passing vapor. Human life is a fleeting shadow, and all the frantic activity of heaping up wealth is ultimately for nothing. He also speaks of the hope found in God. That's in Psalm 39, verses 7 through 11. David shifts his focus entirely from his troubles and the wickedness around him to placing his hope in God alone. He sees his suffering as God's loving correction for his transgressions and asks for deliverance from his sin and from the ridicule of fools. David recognizes that God's rebuke can make a person's life and beauty melt away like a moth-eaten garment. Speaks of a sojourner's plea, verses 12 through 13. The psalm concludes with a final, tearful appeal to God. David acknowledges his temporary status on earth as a stranger and a sojourner, just like his ancestors. He asks God to turn his gaze away, to grant him a moment of comfort and renewed strength before his life is over. The psalm ends without a resolution, expressing a human cry for mercy and desperation. And there are some key takeaways written about for Psalm 39. Basically, to vent emotion to God, not to people. When overwhelmed by anger or sorrow, especially due to the wicked, it is better to turn to God in prayer than to lash out with sinful words. Also speaks the power of perspective. Reflecting on the shortness of life can temper our worldly ambitions and frustrations. It moves our focus from temporary concerns to an eternal perspective centered in God. The next is discipline for growth. God's correction, though painful, is a reminder of our frailty and sinfulness. It should drive us toward repentance and renewed hope in God. Hope in God alone. In the face of life's vanity and sorrow, our ultimate hope should be fixed on God, who alone is eternal and can give our lives true meaning. Psalm 39 is often used in funeral settings due to its poignant reflection on the brevity and fragility of human life. It offers a realistic yet ultimately hopeful look at human suffering under the loving but firm hand of God. So hopefully this will be of some help as you read or reread or listen to Psalm 39. Thank you guys. God bless, and I'll talk to you soon.